This session is an introduction to the driver station and VS Code. We will create a Hello World program and a little bit more, so I guess we'll call it Hello World++. I'm going to begin by starting the driver station, and I'll also go ahead and start VS Code, Visual Studio Code. The driver station normally pops up a default dashboard. I'm going to close this one and then open a different type of dashboard called the Smart Dashboard, which is easy to use for the exercise that we're going to do here. This is Visual Code here to your right. I'm going to close this welcome screen, and right here in the middle it says Show All Commands, Control-Shift-P. That command you will want to know, so I'm going to go Control-Shift-P. If you type in Wpi Lab, it starts autofilling, and you can see all the Wpi Lab commands. I'm going to open the API documentation. We'll probably not use it for this session, but I like to keep it parked here. We're going to go Control-Shift-P, create a new project, and we're going to select a template, not an example, but a template in CPP, C++, for the timed robot style. I've created a folder for doing our projects in. I'll call this My Hello World and put in a team number. So we've created the default project. I'm going to go ahead and just, we've created a default project. If you look right here, you can see a link to the Wpi Lab Documentation that's online. Over here to the left, when we did Control-Shift-P and started documentation, this is a copy that's on the local hard drive. So we don't have to be connected to the internet. We can develop using this over here. I'll just close this window and close this window. Here on the left in the Project Explorer, you'll see Source, Main, CPP, and Include. If you just click on robot.cpp, this is our main C program or C+ program. Click on the H, this is the header file, and you'll notice there's only one file open. I can click back and forth, I can toggle. If you double click, it will open it, and double click the next one. Now I have both files open, so it's a difference between double click and a single click. Down here at the bottom, this is the terminal output window, which is similar to a terminal output window that you'd have in DOS or a Linux terminal prompt. If you hit space, it will close that. If you have focus on this and you hit space, if you have focus on the driver station and hit space, it will actually e-stop the robot. And the only way to recover is to turn the power off on the robot and turn it back on. Up in the upper right hand corner, you can click Build Robot Code. At the bottom, you'll see the console output of it building the project. And that took about 5 seconds. I already have a control system hooked up. You can tell that because down here at the bottom left on the driver station, I have all green lights. I have communications. There's already some code on the robot. The joysticks are hooked up. I have a team number configured. If you're not getting connectivity, you have to check your network settings. You have to check your team number to make sure that you're connected to your device. I'm going to go back up in the upper right hand corner and go deploy robot code. The code is now deploying. You can see this happening. If it's successful, everything will be either white or green. Build is successful, deploy is successful, and we're good. Over here to the right is a console output. You can screen, filter by some message types. You can also clear the screen. If you come down here to the driver station, if you're on a driver station, you don't have a development environment, you can see the same console just by typing View Console. I'll just leave both of these up for the moment so you can see both things happening at once. I'm trying to find some controls here. Right here is Restart Robot Code. If you reboot the RoboReel, that'll take about 30 seconds. If you just restart the robot code itself, the program will only take about a second. Watch right here at robot code, this light, you'll see the code reboot there. And there it goes, and it's back, it's restarted. We got some restart messages here on this console. You see them, the same console over here to the right. Since these two screens are duplicates of each other, I'm just going to close this console output here and just use the one here on the far right. Let's open up our project and do some stuff. In our header file, we have created, well, in our header file, you can see these classes that are, these methods, these classes that are declared, and these are the inits and the periodics that we talked about in an earlier video. If we go look at the code, you can see where this code lives. Here's the robot periodic. I want to get rid of some of these comments so we can have some more space to explore. There's a trash can here on the bottom right. I want to click that. Just close this bottom window. Move that over some more. And right here on this one screen, we can see the basic framework of everything we're going to deal with. The robot init, the robot periodic, autonomous init, the autonomous periodic, teleop init, teleop periodic, so on and so forth. Till we get to the bottom, here's our main. We will never deal with this. We'll probably not do anything with this. We'll certainly do something with all of this right here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to play a little bit. Remember that when you operate the driver station and you go to, say, autonomous mode here on the left and you click enable, it's going to run the autonomous init program one time on the transition when the enable button is tapped. And what it did was it read what was on the smart dashboard. It read these two buttons on the far left. And then it printed out the value right here. On that line there, printed out the value, and that printout showed up down here on the bottom right. You see where it says default? I'm going to go back to the smart dashboard and click My Auto. I'm going to hit disable and hit enable again, so it will retransition again into the init. And here it says My Auto. Amazing. In this autonomous init code, if you needed to do some init for your own autonomous mode, you could write code here with ifs or switches to select whatever you needed. And then in the periodic, again, you'll select whatever mode that you remember, whatever mode you selected, and work from there. Let's just have a little bit of fun. I want to copy these definitions here, and let's just make a few. I'll call it my custom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That looks good. We're going to go my auto, my truck, my boat, my spaceship, my horse. Okay, that's good. Let's when the robot project starts, this is where it configures the information that's on the smart dashboard here and populates the dashboard with all of this stuff. These three lines together does all that. So let's put 2, 2, and just keep adding these elements here. 3, 4, 5, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and there you go. So this is where we're trying to figure out what we did. We'll just put something there. It doesn't really matter because we're not doing anything with it. We'll build it and deploy it. I'm going to come back to the driver station and get ready to do some work here. You'll notice here on the smart dashboard, when the code restarted, it repopulated the dashboard with all these options. So I'm going to click my spaceship. We're in autonomous mode. Go to enable. And over here to the right on the console it says my spaceship. Well, that's clever. My boat, I have to disable it and then re-enable it again because we have to transition through the init. There's my boat, so on and so forth. I guess I'll go for truck. Disable that, re-enable it. There's my truck. So what you've learned right here is we've created a Hello World project. I've given a demonstration of how you can create your own custom autonomous modes by using code here around line 31 and 39. You can see how we can select identify the autonomous mode that was selected. We can do the inits for that mode and the periodic. We're going to do one more quick little exercise. Let's just clear that out. Let's go back to the header file and just create some variables. We're going to create an integer. We'll call it IT for, it's just a number. We'll create another one called IA. Sure, why not? And what I want to do here, we're also going to initialize it to 0. If you're doing really high quality code, you always want to initialize, give your variables a default value so you never have an unassigned value. And we're going to go to the teleop init mode, and we're just going to reinitialize it again. So IT for teleop mode, and we're going to go to periodic and type. What we want to do is we want to take the value. We're going to take the value IT and print it out to the dashboard. So let's just go. Let's see here. You see how this is constructed here? This is what writes information to the dashboard. So just to follow that example, FRC : smart smart dashboard tab. Put number. Then we're going to put in a text field, and a space, and a comma, and an IT. So we're telling the dashboard we want to put a text field called IT : space. Then we want right behind it, we're going to put in the value of IT, whatever that is. So we'll go to teleop mode. We're going to reset to 0. We're going to go to periodic. We're going to print out the value of this, and after we print it, we're going to add 1 to IT. And the way you do this in C or C++, you can go IT plus IT plus 1, or just IT plus plus. And since we went to the trouble of doing this for autonomous, we're going to do the same thing here for autonomous. IA plus plus. Let's go up here. FRC smart dashboard. Put number IA space comma IA. Cool. And let's go to the init. So anytime we enter the autonomous mode, we're going to take IA and set that to 0. So when we enable the autonomous mode, we're going to set IA to 0, and then every 20 milliseconds, 50 times a second, we're going to print it out to the dashboard. Same thing for teleop. We enter that mode. We'll reset our counter to 0, and then we'll print it out. So basically, every click, every time slice, every packet frame that goes across, every 20 millisecond interval, we're going to be incrementing either the IT or IA variables and printing it out to the screen. Let's build that. And we're going to get that out there. Now we're going to deploy it. I want to get rid of this bottom console output. Going over here to the left of the driver station, I want to get into teleop mode. I'm going to press enable, and all of a sudden down here you're going to see this thing running. It should run about 50 clicks a second. I'm going to hit disable. You notice it stopped. The reason it stopped is because we're not executing the teleop periodic anymore. If I re-enable it, you notice it started at 0 again. That's because we went through the teleop init and reset the value here, and we're praying out the number again. Disable. We're going to stop that process. Let's go to autonomous mode. Enable. Here's the IA value down here on the bottom left, and something is obviously wrong. What do we got here? Okay, it's obviously wrong because we did it wrong. Autonomous periodic, we should be incrementing the IA, not the IT. We got to fix that little bug. Let's deploy it again. Okay, let's go back and try this exercise again. And we reset to 0 and it started counting again. Disable. Go to teleop. It's doing what it's supposed to do. Disable. Now we've got one more little exercise to do. Let's go talk about these 4 buttons here. The teleop, the autonomous, the test, and the disable button transition you into an init state and then a periodic state. The practice mode here is something totally different. Let's go to the setup gear. When you're in practice mode, what it attempts to do is run a simulated match. A match will have a countdown timer, and then ding ding, you start the match. We're going to run, I've set this to run for 10 seconds in autonomous mode. It's going to stop, it's going to disable the robot for 1 second. Then it's going to go into teleop mode for 10 seconds plus another 10 seconds. And I'm going to turn the ding dings and all the warnings and honks and bells and whistles off with this little thing here so we don't have to listen to it. We're going to go back to here. So we're going to go to practice mode and press enable. 4, 3, 2, 1. It should go about now, and it does. It's in autonomous mode for 5 seconds. 5 seconds, 50 clicks a second. Did we do 5 or 10? We must have did 10. Yeah, we did 10 seconds for autonomous mode. So 0 to 499, that is 500 counts. So that value is correct. The teleop mode plus the in-game mode, that was 20 seconds. So 20 seconds, 50 clicks per second. That should take us to 999. So 0 to 999, that's 1,000 clicks. That's good. Look at the code here at about line 56 right here. We print the number and then we increment it. Remember that, we print the number and then we increment it. Go up to line 22. Remember that robot periodic always runs 50 times a second. It always happens after one of the other periodic tasks. So just to sort of simplify our code, I'm just going to take these 2 print statements and move them to the periodic task. Also note that now that it's moved to the periodic task, it's always going to print no matter what mode you're in, because that's what robot periodic does. Compile the project, build it. Now we're going to deploy it. Going to clear the screen over here. Let's go back over here again. Back in practice mode. We've deployed the code. We're going to run this one more time. And the match has started. It's going to run for 10 seconds. And the count is going to be, can you guess? 500. Why was it 500? Remember over here, we did the increment after the print in the previous case. Now we're doing the increment and then printing it out, which means what we printed out was 1 higher than before. So first time we printed 0 to 499. This time we're printing 1 to 500 and 1 to 1000. That is your introduction to the dashboard, the smart dashboard, the driver station, Hello World program, the autonomous, the periodic and init modes, and see you next time.